Hey guys, it's Miharu, and welcome back to Spyrocast. This is episode 36, and today I welcome the very first voice actor from the series that I've had on the show.
Hello, this is Andre Sogliuzzo, also known as Sparx the Dragonfly.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. How do you do that?
It's a disorder that I've learned to harness and since childhood. Basically, it's sort of a buzz and talking thing. And as all you Spyro fans know, that whenever Sparx talks, there's subtitles to translate. But I am actually saying the words in buzz that you are reading below. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that you're actually saying those words because I'm like, yeah, that fits with the text. Like
soon, after many hours of playing the game, you learn to speak Sparx without the subtitles, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, my first question is, how did you get started voice acting?
How did I get started voice acting? Well, I was already an actor. And I always was doing voices long before I was being paid to do voices, even as a kid, as I just said before. It's something I kind of learned to get control of. As I often say in interviews, I spent a lot of time being sent out of the hall in school for being disruptive. I was kind of I am a natural mimic. And if I hear something unusual or that tickles my fancy, I can't help but mimic it. And I just always naturally did that. I was always doing impressions and celebrity voices and imitating cartoons. And I also traveled a lot as a kid. My father was a theater professor, but we moved around a lot. And we also traveled to Europe in the summer when I was a little kid. And so even though I was born in New York, you did hear a lot of what we consider foreign accents when you live in a big city. But when you were out in the suburbs where we moved shortly after I was born, you didn't hear them as much except on one TV channel. We listened to Masterpiece Theater on PBS and you would hear British accents. But when I went over to Europe for the first time, I was like 5 or 6 years old and I would hear these people speaking supposedly English, but it sounded nothing like us. You know, I went to Scotland and I hear all these Scottish accents and it was just wild to me. So I couldn't help but imitate them. And so I always had a facility for that. And then I was not a professional acting kid, but I did do children's theater. As I said, my father was a theater professor and he directed a lot of things. So I was doing theater. I was always kind of in the world of theater and acting. And when I finally sort of admitted to myself that I was an actor, I moved back to New York on my own when I was about 19, sort of 19, 20-ish. And I started studying in independent workshops and sort of started an acting career doing theater and other things. But I always realized that I had a facility that sort of separated me out from the fields in voice. And the thing about being an on-camera or theater or live actor is that it's about how you look is a huge part of whether you're going to be cast in something. And I realized, but I can do so much more than what I look like with my voice. And so I kind of targeted that midway. I mean, a little later, I didn't target a voice career right away when I didn't really start my voice career maybe 10 years into my acting career because I'm also a songwriter and a musician, and I was sort of pursuing both at the same time. And then I realized you can't have two careers running simultaneously. You kind of choose one or the other. So I chose acting, and then I slowly started doing voice work. And I was also doing all kinds of things to make a living. Many temp jobs, but initially then I got into sort of commercial production work. And then through that, you meet different people working. I was driving trucks, loading camera gear, that kind of thing. And then eventually I also became a casting assistant in commercials. And so I spent a lot of time sort of on the opposite side of the camera or the microphone, sort of learning the process before I was actually in front of it as an actor. And at one point, sort of through production work, I knew somebody who was working with an advertising agency, because when commercials, they're all through ad agencies, and ad agencies make all the commercials you see. And I was having lunch with her, and she said, "Oh, tomorrow I have to, I've got to cast all these guys. I've got to hear all these actors, who can sort of do Elvis, an alien child, Ross Perot, who was a big political figure in the 90s. I need to, and I said, well, I can do all those voices. Bill Clinton was another one of them. And I said, well, yeah, I can do that. And she said, well, why don't you come in and read tomorrow? So I did. And probably she saw maybe 30 or 40 actors that day who had agents, and I didn't. And I went in and I booked the job. And so strangely enough, at that session, there was an agent there, which is not common. Agents don't usually go to their talents' voiceover sessions at all.
Right.
But he happened to be there for a female client of his, for whatever reason he was there. And he heard me working, and he handed me his card. And he said, well, here's my card. Do you have an agent? I said, no, I don't. And he goes, well, you come in and we should have a meeting. We should talk. And, because he knew, because I said, no, there's actually, I said, this is how I got this job. I knew somebody, I auditioned, the client liked me, and I booked it. So when I came in and met with him, he said, well, this is what you need to do. And here's a tape of our sort of biggest character guy. And, and I sort of, I took the tape home, and I was a sort of, arrogant, brash, late 20-something, if you will. And I heard the tape and I hated it. Because he sounded like all the guys I grew up when I was a kid on TV in the 70s, and it was super cartoony and super broad. And, and I was always kind of an arrogant purist in a way. I was like, well, that's not what a real French person sounds like. Well, that's, I'm doing a French accent right now because it's for, kind of Fruit Loops or whatever. And that was the nature of advertising, it was all very, very, very broad, And so I heard it, and I just thought, well, I hate the sound of commercial. I was also ignorant of the business. I was an artist, not to be arrogant about I'm an artiste, but I was an artist, and I was like trying to do something unusual and unique and interesting. I didn't want to sound like everybody else because I thought, well, that's how you get attention. You sound completely different. So I got a friend of mine who was a recording engineer, and we made me this very imaginative, colorful, creative tape of sound effects and voices, and one moved into the next. It was almost like listening to an audio movie, if you will. And it was very creative, very original, but it didn't sound anything like what agents were used to hearing. And so I kind of made this tape, and I would play it for people, and they go, oh my God, this is amazing. All my friends that worked in ad agencies, who were what you would call creatives, liked something creative, right? Because they're about creating and being, and so they loved that. It was kind of, but agents, their business is selling their clients to ad agencies, and they want their client to sound exactly like something you heard on the radio yesterday. That's always my advice. And on my Instagram page, that's one of the things I have in an interview that I've done. Another interview I have clips of on there. And I always say, your tape needs to sound like something they heard last night on the radio or on TV, because that's what agents, that's where their ear is. It's on the market they're selling. And I used to always think, well, if you just show everyone how talented you are, they'll want to work with you. Well, no, they want to know you're talented, but they also want your tape to reflect, because they think ad agencies will be terrified of something that sounds unique.
Yeah.
So I made this tape. I was all excited. I brought it back to him, and he was like, yeah, well, no, we all listened to your tape, and no, we just don't get it. No, we don't get it. Look, just go make me something that sounds like who you are, like a young dude in his 20s. And I was like, that's so limited. Like, why would I want to sound like everybody else? Like, that's not unique. But the other reality is, in New York in that period, there wasn't that much animation. There was some, but most of it was promos and commercials and that kind of thing. So his ear was on his market. So I as much as I was sort of decided I don't want to work with this dude if he doesn't really see my value, I kind of, over the years, I guess that's where he was coming from. He's still a very well-known agent, and he's still working, and he was very nice to take that meeting. He always said, look, my door's always open. Bring me what you got. But then through friends, I started, put the word out and sort of got my tape to other agents. And a lot of them would hear it and go, this is amazing. I'll definitely what's called hip pocket you. And that means they haven't signed a contract with you to be your agent, but they're going to sort of test the waters. And they're going to send you out a little bit and see if they get any bites. But a lot of those agents never called. They never did anything for me. But because, as I said, I was working in the world of advertising and casting anyway, I would get wind of different things and get in and occasionally audition. But that's not really a way to get a career going, because you need to be auditioning every day all the time, because it's endless rejection, and occasionally you'll book something. But one day, driving a truck, filling the cooler on set, and I had my tape with me wherever I went. A dear friend of mine, Elise Roth, who was an agency producer, or maybe she was freelance, I don't remember at the time, and she was on set, and there was a guy, I don't remember his name. I always give him the name John Smith for Agent Eric, but this guy, John Smith, and she says, "Oh, John, you got to hear Andre's tape. He's really amazing." And so I handed it to her. She handed it to him. She called me all excited a few days later, said, "Oh, he really liked your tape. He really wants, he thought you were amazing. He's going to refer you to an agent at William Morris." I'm like, "Really? William Morris is awfully big time." And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Who?" She said, I forgot, Billy something. I was like, "Okay." So I said, "Well, when's he going to call?" She said, I don't know. I guess he's going to call him this week." So I waited a week. I waited kind of a week and a half. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to wait in my life anymore. So I called William Morris. I figured out who the agent Billy was, which was Billy Ciro. And I called up Billy's office and I lied. And I said, and it wasn't a complete lie, it was half a lie. I said, "Well, John Smith at BBD Needham Worldwide referred me to you. So first thing, you get the assistant on the phone. She writes it down. Billy called me back within like 20 minutes. And he said, "Why don't we get you and you'll come meet me on Friday?" So I was calling like on a Tuesday. I met him on a Friday. And we sat down and he popped my tape in right in front of me and listened to it in front of me. And he goes, "This is really fantastic. You're really talented. Yeah, I'll definitely hip pocket you and send you out." Now, as I said, I'd been knocking around for 4 years with this tape, not getting anywhere. So I didn't have anything to lose. And I said, "Look, I'm not trying to be rude here, Billy, but I've heard that a lot. Agents think I'm really talented. They never call. Does this actually speak to you in some way?" He goes, "No, this speaks to me." Now, Billy had also come out of theater before he was an agent. So he kind of looked at talent in a slightly different way. He really respected actors in a different way than agents who kind of came up in another direction. Not to trash agents, but not all of them have a theater, real acting background. Some of them come out of commercial ad agencies and other things. So anyway, Billy started, quote unquote, hip pocketing me and sending me out. And eventually I started booking little things here and there. And the thing, I don't know which one came first. I think what came first was Celebrity Deathmatch, which was an MTV show. I don't know if you know that or not. And it was claymation celebrities fighting each other to the death. And I did over 50 different celebrity impressions for them. And so that kind of got me started. And then the other animation job I did while living in New York. But I mean, Celebrity Deathmatch was a lot. Like that went for a couple of years and I wasn't I had to earn my keep every time. Each week there would be a new batch of celebrities. I'd send in an audition. I would book it and whatever. Courage the Cowardly Dog was a show that was done in New York. And I booked Schwick, Bushwick.
Yeah, that's
Bushwick.
right.
But you can call me Schwick. Don't ever call me Bushwick. You want to know what's behind that door?
You don't want to know what's behind that door.
Right. So Bushwick was kind of my first quote unquote cartoony job other than Celebrity Deathmatch. So those were kind of my beginnings. And then I cut together a demo of a video reel of that was the other thing that I always thought was strange, which was voice actors, even though it was animation, they would just send in their animation audio reel versus cutting together a cartoon. I'm like, well, it's a visual medium. Don't you want to see what it looks like? So I cut a video demo of Celebrity Deathmatch. I cut together 13 of the 50 that I had done. And I came out to LA and met the agents at William Morris out there, and they saw it and they really liked what they saw. And also everything in the business is even more so now than 20 years ago, is about celebrities. So making fun of celebrities like opened a lot of doors for me. So he said at the time, and there was a commercial strike going on. So a lot of the commercial voiceover I was doing and auditioning for wasn't happening at that moment, but animation wasn't on strike. So I stayed in LA for about 6 months, sort of, auditioning and occasionally booking stuff. And then I went home to New York because I didn't live in LA. My dad did, and I was crashing with him. But my agent in LA at the time kept calling my agent in New York saying, what's Andre doing? He could have a big career in Los Angeles. What's he doing? And my agent in New York, Billy Ciro, did me a huge favor and sat me down and said, what are you doing? You got to take this guy seriously. He's a major agent, and you got to think about it. And so I really thought about it. I thought, okay, I got to take a look at my life. And if you're an actor, you're going to have a relationship with Los Angeles one way or another, or Hollywood one way or another. And so I came out and I sort of hit the ground running from there. But circling all the way back, I have to look hard, but I think Spyro may be the first video game I ever did.
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken. If you look on my IMDb page, it kind of shows that, but I remember that I did that right around 2000 or 2001. As I said, I was working in New York since 1996, and, I was an actor since 93 in the union, I think in terms of video games, Spyro might have been the first, or definitely the first or the second, but yeah, early on there. And I wasn't a gamer. I didn't play video games. So when you start out, I was just taking it from a pure animation perspective. And then they would have to explain, okay, well, Sparx this is his function in the game, and this is what he does. So, they would explain games. It was funny till I played games. Then once I played them, I understood, oh, okay, this is how it works. But yeah, so that is the long answer to your first question. How did I get started? That's how I got started. But in terms of doing voices, one of the things I also always say as a kid, I told you I moved around a lot. And for me, as I was a natural mimic, but mimicking somebody wasn't necessarily making fun of them. And I mean that even to this day. Especially as a kid, it was a survival. It was an adapting technique, because I felt like if I can understand the way they talk, I can fit in better. Being the perpetual new kid is a scary experience in life. If you move around, and we moved kind of every 5 years, and I was always the new kid in school. And so, one, rather than get beat up, you make everybody laugh. Two, I moved from New York. I lived in Rome, Italy. I moved to Dallas, Texas. And Rome, Italy to Dallas, Texas is a huge culture shock. So, sort of mimicking voice was a faster way of understanding culture for me. So, in a way, rather than making fun of the differences in things, I was sort of honoring and understanding and finding the commonality in the differences between things by imitating the voices I would hear. So that's always kind of where I was coming from. And then sometimes I just thought somebody was funny and I was making fun of them, but not seriously. But in general, I was it was a kind of instinctive survival technique. That's how I got started doing voices. Is I just started doing voices, and I had a facility for it. I had a musical ear. My mother was a wonderful musician and a music teacher, so that innate ability was probably already in me, and she could sing as well. And so, because doing voices is a very musical. It's a very similar facility to music. And a lot of my friends who have careers doing what I do, Kari Walgreen sings, Gray Delisle sings, Kevin Michael Richardson is a wonderful singer. I know all these people. We're all associates and friends and worked together for years. And so, yes, a lot of us who do voice work are musical people.
Right. Yeah. My dad is a singer-songwriter, so that's probably it. I mean, now I guess it makes sense why I decided to pursue voice acting myself. So.
Yeah, no. Once you have the facility to free yourself and sing, it's a lot easier to do voices because you're already learning to use another part of your brain and another part of your instrument, so to speak, in order to express yourself. So, yeah, they're very, very similar reflexes. So once you're comfortable, if you grew up singing with your dad, it's a next logical step to to doing a different voice than your own.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's awesome. And I guess, all right, my next question is, I guess goes more into the Spyro side of things. What was the audition process like when you were voicing Sparx? Or
Well, yeah, the audition process was like pretty much anything else I do. It's changed now because the technology has gotten more ready and easy for everybody. But in the dark ages, you went to your agent's office every morning, and they would hand you copy or the script of something, whether it be a commercial, a video game, an animated series. And on those pages would be, maybe if you were lucky, art showing you what the character you were auditioning for looked like. Oftentimes there wouldn't be art. And there would be a few lines. And this one was buzzing. It was Sparx the Dragonfly. He buzzes, but these are the words he's saying. Try and speak through. But, it was basically what it is. It described it from my memory. And at the time, it was, I did those sessions, who is now a very dear friend of mine, a wonderful casting and video game director, Margaret Tang. And when I first met Margaret, actually, she was working at Nickelodeon. She was doing cartoons as well. But then she moved a bit more into the video game world. So that was, I think, the first time I had met Margaret was at Nickelodeon. But then she, sent out that audition, and I booked that, because casting can only do so much, give the word, then they give it to the client. The client decides, yeah, that guy is what we want. And then Margaret and I kind of worked together in those sessions to create the Sparx the Dragonfly and create, talking through sound without words, but buzzing,
buzzing.
So that's kind of how that started. But initially I had to just, all puns intended, I had to wing it, and just, this is what it would be. This is what I thought it would sound like if Sparx said, hello, it's so nice to talk to you today. And, Aaron, and that was just it. So, but yeah, the process was like every other. You get some pages, you go into a booth with a microphone after sitting with him for about half an hour, 10, 20, and you go in and you take your shot.
Wow. So, yeah, it seems rather simple.
One would think it's simple, but it isn't. It's simple. The process is simple, but booking a job is always, there's always so many factors that are out of your control. So it's never actually simple. If only it were that simple all the time. Yeah, I recorded it, they liked me, and I got the job. Sometimes they love me and I still don't get the job because there's someone more famous that they'd rather use, or that they want to use to sell their product of their show. So that happens a lot.
Yeah. So while you were voicing Sparx, do you remember anything specifically about like Insomniac or wherever you were when you were doing that?
Insomniac, again, as I said, the process usually as an actor when you're doing a video game is you're dealing with the person directing you. Right. Sometimes they are directly from the company directly. Other times they are a voice director who's been hired by the company, and you'll have this process where you've got a voice director, but then you've got someone from the video game company sitting next to them whispering in their ear. And I'll do a take, and then they mute their microphone and they talk amongst themselves. And then the voice director will give you notes and direction. That's often the way it works. So my memories of Insomniac, of those sessions, my memories are collaborating with Margaret, my director, but it wasn't directly with Insomniac. But over the years, I've done many, 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 many games with Insomniac. And, I always remember having a positive experience with them. But no, I couldn't give you a specific name. And it's terrible because I'm sure if the person from Insomniac, they go, hey, I was there. I can't believe Andre doesn't remember me.
It was me.
But yeah, part of the problem for me is I'm often so much in my head. I'm focused on that paper in front of me and the microphone, and I'm living in my imaginary space right now. And those people behind the glass are just people behind the glass. I'm terrible with names until I really get to know someone or work with them and then really connect. But again, they're 30, 40 feet away behind glass and I'm in my head, so yeah, that's the problem. And then it's even worse when I meet one of those people on the street or in a supermarket or whatever. I have no context. Like if I walked into a studio and I saw them, I'm like, hey, good to see you again. But in the supermarket, it's like, how do I know you? Oh, yeah.
It's like, who are you?
You were standing 40 feet away from me 2 years ago, like behind glass, So, so my memories of Insomniac in general are always very positive. But of that, my memory, and again, we are talking 23 years ago now, it was mostly me and Margaret. And because I did a few of those games over the years. And, I did. I mean, what are considered the greatest of the Spyro games.
The original trilogy, my favorite.
Before they decided David Spade needed to be Sparx the Dragonfly and talk in his spadey, snarky way, whatever. But, and when they did the reissue, I was very happy and proud that they were my 3 games in the Reignited trilogy, which came out really beautifully. It was great, and they had us all back for that. But I don't want to get ahead of your questions, so that's my Insomniac answer. Give me the next one.
Okay. Well, I was going to go on to the Reignited stuff, but first I want to ask, when you came up with like the buzzing voice, like was that just immediate? Was it ever different?
No.
So it just sounded like that.
Is what I think my first audition was kind of like, and then we just shape it, anytime you're in a session, I'll give a read and they'll say, okay, maybe it's a little happier. Maybe it's more mysterious. Maybe it's this or that. You know what I mean? But in general, no, the essence of Sparx is what I created from the get-go. Okay.
And that's what, you've gone with from then on, and that's what you went with for Reignited. What was your experience like working on the Reignited trilogy?
The Reignited? Well, it was really fun because I knew the character really, really well, right? Because I'd done 3 games. And so the person directing me was not Margaret for the Reignited trilogy. It was another director I've worked with for years. And it was funny. She was hired for the day. And I think my session might have been one of the first. Because for the Reignited, we came back. And as you fans know who probably played it, they remastered a lot of it. There was some new content, I know, because I had to say some new Sparx lines. They weren't just remastering they remastered all of my original work, but they brought me, Tom Kenny, I forgot who else, maybe Fred Tatasciore was in the game, I think. I could be wrong. Sure. So I remember they brought us all back in to sort of clean up maybe things we did and add new stuff. So I came in, and then I think might have been the first session of the day, and I came in, and the script was in front of me, and someone, I think from Insomniac, was probably there, but she didn't know the game. So I read my first line, and I went, and she's like, Andre, are you, I said,
are you okay?
I don't say these words. Sparx buzzes them, and then the mic went silent, and the guy went, yeah, he's right. That's the character. So it was really funny. She's like, oh, okay. I thought I was insane. I said, I thought you lost your mind for a minute. I'm like, no, I know it is kind of bizarre that I do this for a living, but no, that I am correct right now. So that was kind of, because or maybe maybe I wasn't the first session, but nobody else buzzes, right? Everybody else came in and talked.
Right.
And so she didn't know the game, and she didn't realize that Sparx doesn't talk. He buzzes his lines. So yeah, it caught her completely off guard. It was a very funny moment.
God, that's so
that's
funny.
One of my moments from the Reignited sessions I remember. But again, it was only one session. I say sessions. I think it was just the one. I think I came in, maybe it was 2, but I'm pretty sure we all came in for one day, because again, it wasn't a ton of added content. It wasn't a whole new game. I think I might have done a couple hours or an hour or so of work. Either fixing old stuff or adding a couple of new things. And again, Sparx is your sort of little tour guide animal, correct? He kind of tells you what to do and where you're going and how the controllers work, right?
Yeah, some other characters do that too, but he's one of them.
Yeah. Okay. And forgive me, I have not played the entire games through and through. I've seen smatterings of them and played them a little bit and loved them, but I did not spend. I was much older than you when I first played that game, so I didn't have the 100 hours to lose myself in the Purple Dragon world as much as I wish I could. So no, I never finished the Spyro games, but I have played them a bit and seen them, and that was my memory of it from the time. But again, I did not play. I saw some of the Reignited trilogy, but I didn't sit down and play it. So it really has been almost 20 years plus since I really spent any time in those games.
Yeah, that's been a really long time. The 25th anniversary of the first game just passed recently.
Was it 25 or 23? I just saw somebody posted something. Is it been 25?
It's been 25 since Spyro 1, but it's been 23 since Spyro 3, which is the one that you came in for.
My first one?
Yes.
Year of the Dragon?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Is Sparx in Spyro 1?
Yes, he is, but he doesn't say anything.
He doesn't say anything. Okay, so I was the first speaking Sparx. Okay, I'm just making sure. I'm the OG people.
Yes.
OG Sparx.
OG Sparx. I guess that's all for the Spyro stuff. I guess for any of the fans out there, if you'd like to list off some of your work that they might know.
Oh, there's infinite. I've been doing this a long time. I mean, all the hits that people would know. I'm Sideswipe in Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. So in the Transformers world, I'm Sideswipe, and then on the cartoons, I'm Clawtrap. In video games, I'm Thundercracker, Seeker. That's in Transformers. In Star Wars, Clone Wars, I'm on another OG that I'm very proud of. Is in the original Clone Wars cartoons on Cartoon Network. I'm everybody. I'm all the clone troopers, ARC troopers, battle droids, Captain Typho, Fordo, Cody, Commander Cody. And in the original video games from the Star Wars, I'm a lot of those characters as well. And a lot of that stuff is now being remastered and put back out there, which is I'm very happy to hear. Knights of the Old Republic is going to be coming out again. They're remastering those. And Puss in Boots I covered for many years. When the movies came out, of course, Antonio Banderas does the movie voice, but I was all of the video games, commercials. I have on DreamWorks TV, I did motion capture. I did like 50 animated shorts, a full motion capture, which was wonderful. As I said, Courage the Cowardly Dog. I'm Bushwick in Polar Express. I am both train engineers, Smokey and Steamer, the big heavy one and the one with the red beard.
Oh my God, that's my favorite Christmas movie.
Head of the hours before they clear this track.
Yeah, that's all me. So I'm very well known for those. Well, what else would be in my sort of top 40, top 20? I've done for many years lots of stuff on Family Guy and American Dad. One of my favorites on American Dad is a character named Dill. He's wonderful. If you look up Dill, American Dad, I love him. What else?
Shiwu.
That's right. We talked about that earlier. That way back in the day, Jackie Chan Adventures, one of the earlier cartoons I did. With the wonderful Sue Blue directing us. I was Shiwu the Sky Demon, who was like half kid and half demon, hey, Jade. Yeah, doing my 10-year-old boy voice. And then what else is there's new ones that I've done. Oh, well, of course, I'm Tony Montana, the Scarface video game. Of course, that's a huge one, man. And there's always whisperings of a remaster of that. I'm hoping they do it. That was one of my big ones. Pacino picked my voice specifically as Tony Montana to do it. Recently in My Adventures with Superman, I am Monsieur Mala, the wonderful gorilla. Monsieur Mala, all the Skyrim games and many of the Khajiit, Maik the Liar and Jizargo. What else can I think of the big sort of top ones? Those are all the sort of top ones. I know I'm leaving some big ones out. I always forget. I cover Doc for Disney. Anything relating? Hello, Princess. Yeah. I do Doc for anything relating to the original film. I cover that voice. They get a bunch of us together every couple of years, and we all sing hi-ho for like Disney cruises, Disney on Ice, different Disney things, theme park rides. Puss in Boots. I've done in a lot of theme park rides too. And Sideswipe is in the Universal Studios theme park ride. I'm in that one as well. So Sideswipe's in that. So those are sort of my sort of big ticket ones. But you look me up on IMDb, or you come to a convention. You come to look at my table, and people are like, oh my gosh, you're this one, you're that one, you're this one, you're that one. Yeah. My thing is, I mean, I'm certain big, well-known characters, but I'm a million well-known, but not top of show, so to speak, characters. So once people sort of come to a convention table and they spot me, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were this, that, and the other. For example, I'm Jerry in the last movie, Tom and Jerry. Yeah, they had, it was a live action movie, and they wanted some sounds. So as you know, Tom and Jerry don't speak, but I was giggles and squeals and coughs because they're running around and falling and crashing and doing what Tom and Jerry do. And so I did a few hours chasing that. Another legendary one, which I didn't realize, but for all you SpongeBob fans, and you are legion, I am the SpongeBob gorilla in I Had an Accident. I am the guy actually in the gorilla suit.
That's right. Oh
yes,
my God.
It was a very funny mistake job, where my agent thought I was coming in to do gorilla voices. I show up and it's a green screen on a soundstage, and they hand me a gorilla suit, and I was shocked, but I went for it anyway, and almost passed out, hyperventilating into a rubber mask.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And at the time I did it and forgot about it. Thought that was a crazy day. But over the years, SpongeBob fans like, oh my God, you're the gorilla? That traumatized me as a child. You know, so the SpongeBob gorilla is a big one for a lot of people, which is very funny. So those are sort of the main biggies that people would immediately just know right off the bat. But there's a bunch of others.
Yeah, when we were talking at Anime Pasadena, I asked if you remembered Bartog from TAC 3, and you didn't really. I guess it's kind of hard to remember.
I would have to look it up, and then if I saw some video of it, I'd be like, oh yeah, that guy. But yeah, because the names, again, I do these things, and I don't know when that game came out, but if it's over 10 or 15 years ago, for me, often it was one afternoon in a studio in Burbank, and if I didn't play the game, it doesn't register.
Right.
I have to look it up, but so it depends, but yeah, a lot of those games, I'm in a lot of the Crash Bandicoot world, Big Norm and Ace Hardlight, and a lot of those sort of from that period as well. And then out of the Spyro world onward, I'm Voodooed in Camo as well. Oh, okay. In Skylanders,
right? Okay.
Yeah, that's more noises without words. Both of those characters, So yeah, I've Sparx was my first noises without words, but then later I did the same thing with Voodooed in Camo. They're kind of reacting in their gibberish noise world to. I don't know if they have subtitles or not, but I remember it was the same kind of session where I'm just making sounds. I play a lot of cats. It's funny. And Elena of Avalor, I'm King Virago, another big flying kitty.
Oh.
So it's funny. I look over the years, I'm more and more cats. They keep adding up.
A lot of cats.
Puss in Boots, King Virago, all the Khajiit. Yeah, lots of kitties. We talked earlier in the original Stuart Little TV show that came off of the movies. I did the voice of Monty, another cat.
Wow.
Let me think. Am I missing any other big ones? But fire away. Any other questions you might have?
Let's see. I think my last question on here was just about your recent work. But I guess that kind of goes into everything we've been talking about. Yeah,
recent work. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff I'm still not allowed to mention. Some really big, good ones that are coming out.
Sure.
Monsieur Malat just came out, My Adventures with Superman, and I'm a feeling we're going to see more of him in the subsequent seasons. Recent big video game work. What just came out? I know some bit Sekiro. I'm a big samurai game. I'm Ishin Ashina in that. That's a few years ago. Back for Blood. I'm a sniper named Jim. But there's a couple of cartoons. I've already been announced. Also, it hasn't been released yet, but it has been announced, so I can talk about it. Sausage Party. Sausage Party, the movie. They've made a Sausage Party animated series, and I did a bunch of new characters for that, which will be that's really fun. Me, Gray Delisle, a bunch of people are on that, and that was really, really fun. That's kind of more in the line of the celebrity impressions again. And then there's stuff that people don't know I did, like, and I do talk about them, in the Alice in Wonderland. I'm a lot of the Cheshire Cat in the last Alice Through the Looking Glass movie.
Oh.
Because Stephen Fry, who created the voice originally, I think he might have done 1 or 2 lines for that movie, but he wasn't available for whatever reason, so I covered his voice a lot for that. So a lot of that film mostly is me.
I love the Cheshire Cat.
Yeah. It's maybe impossible. Not possible, but impossible. Yeah, those lines are a lot. He doesn't talk a lot in that movie, but most of it, good 90% of it is me.
Cool. Coming up on 45 minutes, so I guess that's a good spot to end it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. If I can we can button it with this, which is, it's always wonderful doing these podcasts, especially for specific fan bases like Spyro. Because so many people have come to me over the years who are huge Spyro fans, and it's really nice. And the shameless plug I give for myself is, please follow me on Instagram, because the way it works is I love meeting a lot of you, just as I met Erin at the different conventions. I met her at Anime Pasadena. I'm going to be at LA Comic-Con this coming weekend. I don't know when you're getting this up, Aaron, but probably after this weekend, but who knows? But the more people I have following me on Instagram, the people that run those conventions decide that I'm worthy to be at their table. So whoever's out there, if you hear this and you were sort of interested or a fan, please definitely follow me on Instagram. I post different videos of a lot of the stuff we talked about today. And also where I'm going to be, where I'm signing stuff. Oh, my goodness, dear. But the one thing I forgot, of course, is I'm King Boomy in Avatar The Last Airbender. How could I
was going to say that.
There was a huge one I was leaving out.
I was going to say.
Yes. So King Boomy in Avatar The Last Airbender is a huge character. That's one of my all-time faves. And, and he's getting a lot of attention at the conventions now because, all of us who did that show are having a really great time meeting the sort of Last Airbender nation of people that have come out. And it's really wonderful. And he has his own Funko Pop, which is a thrill, as do a lot of my characters, actually. And Sparx has his own Funko. Me and Spyro and Sparx, Tom Kenny, have a Funko Pop. And we're both going to be at LA Comic-Con at the same time, which will be fun for people who want the Funko. I've got a bunch of them. But anyway. So I don't know if you wanted to revise and wanted to ask any Avatar questions. You're welcome to. I don't know if you're a fan of that show or not, but that was sort of a big one we left out of our interview. If you want to go back and throw that in. Otherwise, we can leave it as it is. Whatever you like, dear.
I do really like Avatar. I like Avatar and Korra. I think both of them are fantastic shows. Unfortunately, I don't really have any questions because I can't think of anything that I would ask at the moment. But they are great shows. I love them both.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. It was great to meet you, and hopefully I see you at one of these smaller conventions again soon.
Okay, well, that is going to do it. Thank you all so much for listening. As always, don't forget to subscribe for more casual gaming content, and I will see you next time. Until then, this is Miharu, signing off.